Next up, we have Jeffrey Boakye, who is an author, broadcaster, educator, writer, with an interest in issues surrounding education, race, masculinity, and popular culture. Originally from Brixton in London, Jeffrey taught English to 11 to 18-year-olds for 15 years. Jeffrey is the author of several books, co-host of BBC Radio 4's double award-winning Add to the Playlist, senior teaching fellow at Manchester Institute of Education, an occasional journalist, and provides CPD and student sessions at schools and universities, and talks for companies. Jeffrey was awarded the honorary degree of Doctor of Letters by the University of Leicester in January 2023. What an impressive bio. Please welcome Jeffrey to the stage.
All right, so teacher, 15 years, which is a long time, because one school year is like 7 normal human years. You guys know that school is long. It just goes on and on forever. So I was teaching for 105 years, which is a long time to be teaching. Don't clap. It's not even true. But one of the things which is interesting is that I've got a question that I ask young people, and no one ever gives me the right answer. I'm going to try it out, just in case one of you gives me the right answer for a change, but you're all going to get it wrong. Is it possible to get, let's say, 500,000, 500,000 teenagers to sit in total silence for 16 hours straight? Is that possible? Don't even answer, just show me with the eyes. Let's have a look. People are shaking their heads, people are smiling, like, is it possible or not? Most people think it's not possible. Hands up who thinks it is possible. Just out of curiosity. I'm a teacher, I ask for hands up all the time. Leave me alone. All right, cool. We've got 6 people think it's possible. You 6 people. I'm wondering what you would need to do to make it happen. Some of the answers I've been given in the past include, let them sit with their friends. That's stupid. If you sit with your friends, you're going to talk because you like your friends. So that's not the answer. Another answer I've been given is tape their mouths shut. You're not allowed to tape people's mouths shut. That's called abuse. It's not on, all right? So you can't do that. A third answer I've been given a lot in the past to get 500,000 teenagers to sit in silence for 16 hours is to give them loads of money, all right? Which you think would work. I asked one kid, how much is loads of money? And this kid, bless him, he said £20. I said, that's not a lot of money, and I don't think you would sit in silence for 16 hours for £20. But that's closest to the right answer. Do you know how you do it? Have you worked it out yet? No one's had their Weetabix this morning. It's really simple. Well, you're going to do it. It happens every single year. 600,000 teenagers sit in total silence for a grand total of about 16 hours when you do your GCSEs. The eyes start rolling. Oh, not that again. What? Look at you sitting there in uniforms. You know what it's all about. You're going to sit in silence and you're going to put pen to paper for 16 hours because you're doing your GCSEs. And why are you going to do that? Like, seriously, why not just walk out? I've worked in some schools, you lot are all good. You're all good students. You all turned up here today. You've got a tie on, some of you. You're like looking at me. Some kids just walk out. I worked in pupil referral units. The kids that don't make it through, they can't do school. They just bounce, right? But you are going to do it. Some of you have probably already done your GCSEs, right? The reason you do it is very simple because, there's a carrot at the end of it. You're going to get a qualification, a piece of paper. And that piece of paper can get transferred into a job. And that job can get transferred into money. You're going to get that £20 note, hopefully more. And that's why you do it. It's quite simple, isn't it? End of inspirational talk, not quite. The reason I'm telling you this is because the subjects we do at school, you know all the usual ones. We didn't make them up. English, maths, science, geography, art, I don't know, whatever. But what would you get an A star in tomorrow morning with no revision? That's the real question. Everyone in this room is different, right? And everyone's got something in their head that they would nail the exam tomorrow with no preparation. In fact, let me introduce myself. Oh, those are my books. Go and buy them. They're great. That's a big slide that says me in the middle. I'm so egotistical. This is fun. What's going to happen now is you're going to start seeing images of all the things that I love, all the things that make me me. And because you're a human being, what's happening is without even thinking, you're working out who I am by looking at these images. And you're thinking, really? This is what makes Jeffrey Jeffrey? Yeah, this is me. This is the stuff that I love to do. This is the stuff that's in my head. I would get an A star or a 9 in any of these things tomorrow morning. It's quite fun putting that slide together. Do it when you get home. Go onto like Google or whatever, or PowerPoint, whatever, and do a little collage of the things that make you, you. Because you can't see that in me. None of you knew that my favorite film is Dirty Dancing. You didn't know that, did you? What are you laughing at? I've done lectures on that film. Don't laugh, it's deep, it's deep. I've done plural lectures. None of you knew that I like cutting hair. You can't see that in me, you know? You can see some bits of me, but you can't see it all. In fact, I should tell you, let me go off piece for a second. I'll tell you all about one of my experiences. I went into a school because I live in East Yorkshire now. I grew up in Brixton, which is South London. Now I live in East Yorkshire because love takes you to weird places. Don't worry about it. It will happen to you. You'll fall in love and you'll go somewhere weird, all right? And you raise your kids and they'll have different accents to you. That happens all the time. I live in East Yorkshire, so I go to a lot of schools where it's majority white British people. I once walked into a school and there were more people than this, and I was the only non-white person in the room. Risky business, daredevil stuff. And I was like, all right then, come we go. And I walked in, and my work is very dangerous because I talk about identity. I talk about racism, sexism, homophobia. I talk about trans issues. I'm fearless, all right? And to make it safe, I used myself. So I said to these kids, tell me about me just by what you can see, all right? Which is a really risky thing to do. And I stood there, and this one kid goes, you're male. And I'm like, how do you know I'm male? And he said, because you've got trousers on. I was like, yeah. I'm like, I present as a man, he, him, my pronouns. He was right, I've got a little beard, whatever. All right, keep going. Next kid goes, you're English. How do you know I'm English? He says, you're speaking English. And it's true. I was born in these Great British Isles in 1982. I'm very English. I have 2 umbrellas. 2. I drink a lot of tea. No, it's true. I say things like, thank you, when I really mean I hate you. I'm very British. It's a very British thing to do. We all learn that because of this country. We're overly polite. And then this one kid looks at me, takes a deep breath, and he goes, you're black. And everyone went, oh, like that. Everyone. And I went, relax. That's what we call this color skin. It's like, it's what we call this because of rules that were made up in the 1660s, if you want a quick history lesson. But that's interesting because I just gave you some of my identity here, 3 of the things you can see by looking at me. And some of those things make me powerful. My maleness gives me a lot of power. I have male privilege. Oh, you didn't know about male privilege? Oh, it means that I can do things that my mum, my sisters, my wife, my nieces, they're not allowed to do because of sexism. I know that. I've got British power as well. Do you know how many languages I speak? It's so embarrassing. I'm not even sure if I want to tell you. I speak 1 language fluently. It's so embarrassing. I've got cousins that have to speak 3 languages just to get through the world. I speak 1. Do you know why? Because I'm British, isn't it? It's 400 years of empire going over the world, taking things over, and therefore I've got the power of that red passport. I've got the old pre-Brexit passport, the red one. I can go over the world and just be powerful. And then my blackness comes into play, and then it all starts falling off the cliff a little bit because of racism. I didn't make up racism. I didn't make up race. But that affects me. It affects the way I live. It affects everything. It's what I breathe. It's linked also to the other things that make me me. So some of me is dominant, and some of me is not dominant. We're all the same. But that stuff there is important. That's the stuff which is in my head. Let's play a little game. I work in radio for a reason. I like risk. All right. If you can play the honesty game, and you want to play the honesty game, don't worry, you don't have to speak at all, so it's really easy. I'm going to ask you to imagine a pie chart. In fact, if you know what a pie chart is, this is so risky. Sorry in advance. I'm going to ask everyone to stand up. Is that all right? She says yes now, but let's see how chaotic it goes. All right. If you know what a pie chart is, stand up. Don't look at your friends. If you don't know what a pie chart is, stay seated and go and talk to your maths teacher later. All right? All right, cool. Stay standing if you can imagine your identity as though it was a pie chart hovering over your head, like in a Netflix special, and you're the star, because you are the star of your own Netflix special. If you can imagine your identity in a pie chart, so the bits of you that make you, you, can you imagine them inside a pie chart? Everyone's still standing. Interesting. No, some people have sat down. Relax. Don't worry. Stay standing if your pie chart of identity has got more than one slice of the pie. So there's more than one part of you. I've got 3, male, British, black, and there's more. All right. Stay standing if one of those segments is bigger than the other segments. Oh, interesting. We're all still standing. This is science. I like this experiment. Stay standing if the biggest segment of your pie chart affects all the other segments of your pie chart. All right. Stay standing if you can tell yourself in a sentence what the biggest slice of your identity pie chart is, if you can put it in words for yourself. And this is where everyone sits down. You ready for this? Whoa, whoa. You will in a minute. Stay standing if you're willing to tell everyone in here the biggest... Yeah, see, everyone sits down. Everyone's like, I don't want to talk. Talking in public? Are you crazy? I don't want to do that. But there's a few people still standing. I don't know. Take a seat, because I haven't got a long time. It's interesting, though, isn't it? Because no one knows what was in your head when you got to that point. I've done that before. In some places, I hear things like mother, you know. One time, someone said to me, you know, Chelsea Football Club. That was the biggest part of their identity. I was like, fair enough. In one school, I don't know if this kid was trying to be funny, she just looks at me and goes, chicken. I don't know, but we don't know what's inside ourselves, all right? But it gets me thinking, because I've written a lot of books. That's one of them. It's called Blacklisted. All my books have got black in the title because I'm obsessed with race, because it affects me all the time. And this book came out of, well, an urge to think about my labels, because some of the things in your pie chart are your labels. Do you know what I mean when I say labels? Yeah? We've got loads of them. I've got a few labels. That's one of them, Jeffrey. It's a rubbish name. It's a name that white American men born in 1958 have. I don't know what my parents were thinking. You can put that on the internet if you want. My parents are old enough to know better. They called me Jeffrey. It's one of my labels. But when I thought about it, when I wrote this book, I think maybe they were trying to make life easier for me in a way, because it's a very white name. It means that my teachers don't have to struggle with a Ghanaian name, you know? Maybe they were trying to make things easier for me because they understood the struggles I'd face. I don't know. I've got lots of labels. Black and British, 2 of the things I talked about. Sometimes your labels are in tension. Think about your own labels, your own story. Do all of the things fit? You know, I'm British, great. I'm black, what? Britain has not been very good to black people for hundreds of years, and yet here I am. I am a product of the empire. In fact, I'm as good as it gets. This is it. This is as good as it gets. I am the best of the empire. I paid my taxes. I was given a degree for free. Are you crazy? Like, this is as good as and you guys, you're going to be as good as sons and daughters of empire, you know? African. It's another label that I explored. Maybe some of you, that was in your pie chart, a part of the world. Asia, Europe, South America, right? Africa is a big part of the world story. In 1885, a bunch of countries sat down, European countries, and they sat down in Berlin and they carved up Africa to decide who gets what. That's a story. We're talking about stories today. That's the whole story. Did you know that? Have you heard of it? It's called the Berlin Conference. Have you heard of it? That's the question, people. Have you heard of it? Yeah, all right, good. Because I hadn't when I was your age. I'd never heard of that story. And my parents were born in a country called the Gold Coast. It's called the Gold Coast because it's got lots of... Gold. Yeah, it's got gold in it. There are other countries named by the empire that have things in them, like the Ivory Coast, or the Grain Coast, or the Kingdom of Benin, which was known as the Slave Coast. Deep, isn't it? And in 1957, the Gold Coast became independent and became Ghana, so I am Ghanaian. I'm also black, which was something that not a lot of people knew until 2016, because I wrote a book about grime called Hold Tight. I wanted to tell the story of grime music and black British people like me in the millennium. And I wrote about grime and, you know, about Skepta and Stormzy and Little Sims and all these people. And then people read the book. When you write a book, people actually read it sometimes. It's really scary, right? So if you don't want people to know you, don't write a book. And my colleagues read my book, and they were like, oh my goodness, you're black. And I was like, yeah, so I came out as black, is what I'm saying, in 2016. No one knew before that. No one knew. My hair wasn't even like this in 2016. I like shaved it off so no one would know. But this is my real me. I'm celebrating right now. Now, your labels are really interesting. This is fun. I'm giving you free money, by the way. Those of you that like £20 notes, you can use this. List your labels. Some of them you will love. Some of them you will not be sure about. There's a label that you guys have already. You heard it, teenager. Have you heard that one before? It's a label. Have you heard that one before? Teenager. Do you know when it was invented? I do my research. That's why they give me doctorates. It was 1948. They made up the teenager in America because they knew that 17-year-olds, specifically 17, would spend money on stuff that adults wouldn't spend money on. And they knew they could make money out of them. And it's still happening now, by the way. People are trying to make money out of you. So watch out with all that TikTok stuff. They're just trying to get you to spend money. Trust me. Anyway, inspirational talk. Who's had a conversation today? Oh, you guys need to get socialized, man. Like, you need to talk to people. All right. Let's play Fist of Five. It's a fun game. 5 means it was an amazing conversation. Like, wow, that was so much fun. 0 means that was a terrible conversation. I never want to speak to you again. All right? How good was that conversation? Show me. If it was the person sitting next to you, don't play, because it's just rude. But show me. 5, 4 to 2. Oh, 2s. Oh, no. Anyone with a 3, get off the fence. Make a decision in your life. 1, 2, 4, 5. Like, go extreme for a change. All right, let's have a look. Have we got roving mics for this bit? I don't know. Like, no? I kind of want to hear from someone. Am I allowed to do a roving mic situation? Where's the tech team? Come on, lit in colour. Get on your job. Who's got a high number? I want to see. Who's got like a 4 or 5? We've got one over here.
Hello.
Hello? Yeah, all right. All right. Let's talk to your man in the middle. Hello.
Hello.
You all right?
It's on.
It's
Yes.
on, man. I can hear you. It was 4. Why?
Yeah, it was 4. I walked into work this morning,
You walked into work this morning.
and an English teacher came up to me and she said, I hope you have a great time. There's this young man, Jeffrey Butcher.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, she was talking about you. She was like, he's on the radio, he talks about music and stuff,
stop.
blah, blah, blah. I know, I swear. I'm not trying to boost the ego, but
You are?
it was like, she was so happy to speak about you, and I'm pretty sure if she was able to come today, she would have been here, but
You
she
should
was
have
so
let her come
inspired.
and you could have stayed at work.
Honestly,
Okay. That's good.
yeah, but
That's a positive
honestly, yeah.
conversation.
It was the first time I heard of you.
What made you first time you heard of me, and
Yeah.
now we meet? See how the universe works? What made it
Crazy.
such a good conversation, though?
I think it was because her passion carried through.
Her
Because
passion?
her tone that she spoke with,
Right.
it just let me know that she really was caring about this topic, and
Fantastic.
it made me excited for the event.
All right. Who had a bad conversation? Don't unpack anything that you're not willing to share. This is not therapy. I just want to know who had a 2 or a 1. Come on now, people. If not, we'll just move on. But this is your chance. Sometimes in life you've got to take a risk. No one had a 2 or a 1. Interesting. I've worked out what makes a conversation work. This is going to be very important. This is not perfect. This is not my best work. But I think the first thing you need is to be willing to have a conversation. If I walk up to you and I say, you're right, and you just don't want to talk to me, the conversation can't happen, right? And then beyond that, those 3 bits in yellow are really important. I need to respect you enough to want to talk to you, like you and your colleagues, sir. You have respect. And there was empathy. You were listening to this person. It takes responsiveness, a back and forth. This is not a conversation, really, because I'm doing all the talking. It's too much me. But in a good conversation, it will be me, then you, then me, then you. The reason I'm showing you this is because the world is having a conversation with you through school. This is when it gets deep. Think about it, right? Think about it. The world is talking to you. It's saying things to you and asking you to respond. Are you enjoying that conversation? Are you enjoying what the world is saying to you? Have you enjoyed your time at school so far? And one way the world speaks to you is through literature, through stories. That's why we're here, lit in colour. It's about literature. I've been teaching English for long enough to work out what stories the world wants us to engage with. There are 4 books that have been in every school that I've taught in, every single one. And I'm wondering if we know what those books are. You've probably studied some of them. I'm wondering if you can nail all 4. Just shout at me. Mice and Men, Macbeth, what else we got? To Kill a Mockingbird, what else we got? Inspector Calls, we've actually got 3 out of the 4 already. Great Gatsby, no, not in every school. That's been in some schools, but every single school. There's one, Romeo and Juliet, no Shakespeare. Lord of the Flies, close, but not in every school. I'll show you. Of Mice and Men, well done, whoever said that. Give yourself a round of applause, whoever said that. And Inspector Calls, Animal Farm. Animal Farm. That's been in every school I've taught in. And Michael Morpurgo, Private Peaceful. Have you not read that one? Every school I've taught in. These are those men. The reason why I've put Michael Morpurgo's face in colour is because he's still alive. The rest of them are dead, so they're black and white. That was a deliberate decision. Aesthetics. Also, Michael Morpurgo looks very unhappy there, but he must go to bed on a bed of £20 notes because this book is in every school I've taught in. He's making money off this. I wish to make as much money as him. But the reason I'm showing you this is because there are certain things that these stories have in common. Like, I've made a list here. They're all kind of masculine. They're about masculinity. The world wants you to think about masculinity. Male privilege, I talked about it earlier. A lot of these stories are about being male. There's a lot about power and authority. So these books want you to think about power. Who's in charge? Should they be in charge? Are you guys in charge? Deep question. There's a lot of empathy for people without power in all of these books as well. So I'm not saying these books are terrible. I'm just saying that they're asking you to think about certain things. But we need to go further, because what do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? Did anyone earlier, when we did Fist of Five, have a conversation that almost went into an argument? Be honest. Let's have a look. All the hands creeping up over there. All right, you almost had an argument. I'm not going to ask you to talk, but you're smiling. Did you enjoy it? No, he's like, no, I didn't enjoy it. Was your heart beating, though? Were you in it? Were you in the conversation? Yeah, of course you were. Because an argument is when you really believe what you're saying. Now, this is the inspirational bit, because it said on the piece of paper that I was given an inspirational keynote. So I've got to be inspirational, otherwise I failed and they won't give me my money. All right? So I'm going to be inspirational. Your argument is the thing which is going to give you your life. All my books are part of an argument that I'm having with the world. What, you think I'm doing this because this is the only thing that I can do? There are loads of ways of making money, right? But your passion, your argument, especially when it makes you feel uncomfortable, that's what's driving you forward. Now, I know what my argument is. I know, I've written books about it, right? What's your argument? Your schools might not have asked you to articulate it. I've been talking to someone who hopes to become the next prime minister of this country, all right? His name's Keir Starmer, and he's quite hopeful that he's going to be the next prime minister, which means a lot of power and authority. One of the things which we talked about is, are young people empowered to have an argument in order to change the conversation? This is not a game, because I was you not very long ago. I'm trying to change the conversation. You guys are going to change the conversation whether you like it or not. I've got an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old at home. They're looking at you because you are cool and I am not cool. So you're going to change their conversation. If you walk in wearing, Crocs, whatever, they're going to think Crocs are cool. Great. Nothing to do with me. So you're going to change that conversation. But it's deeper than that. What's your argument? There are 4 things that I want you to think about. Social justice is one of them. Things being fair or unfair. Do you have an argument on that? Geopolitics. Movement of people around the world. Why my parents are here. What's happening in the wars in the world. People moving all over the place. Do you have a viewpoint on that? Identity politics. What makes you you? Do you have an argument there about gender, sexuality, race, religion, ethnic background, all that stuff? Do you care? And the last one, this is a big one. Greta's trying to do this. Greta's been trying to save the world for ages. Sustainability, do you care about that? You might not care, but it's coming for us all. If you can work out your argument, then trust me, your story is going to be valuable to the world. This is a book that I wrote, and I'm going to end it in a minute. It's called I Heard What You Said. It's all about being a black teacher in a white system. I told you, all my books have got black in the title. It's like so predictable, all right? And these are some of the things that I've heard said in my 15 years of teaching, because it's my story. Some of those might shock you. Some of those might not shock you. Some of them are quite funny. Some of them are quite worrying. There's a whole load more in the book. Are you cool? There you go. That's one I get asked a lot. Are you cool? Oh, I don't know. I'm a teacher. No. Like, what are you talking about? You know, Mr. Boakye's a waste man. Oh, my goodness. That rocked me to my core. This kid called me a waste man. He didn't even say it to my face. He wrote it on his English book. Mr. Boakye's a waste man. I was like, who are you calling a waste man? You waste man. But then we made up. It's a lovely story, trust me. It is. But the reason I'm showing you this is because some of your story is going to be about the thing which pushes you to the edge. You know what I mean? The edge. They call it marginal. Have you heard that term before? Marginalized. It's a weird term because it means that you're over here. It means that you're not in the center, you know? So you get ignored. My race in this country, which is 86% white British, is marginalized because I've been in schools where I was the only black teacher. So I was definitely on the edge. When I was at college, I went to college in Wimbledon. That's where they play tennis. It's very white. I was the only black kid in my sixth form. Can you imagine that? In my whole year 12, I was the only black kid in the 90s. Isn't that weird? No? Okay, fine. It's not weird. To me, it was weird. But being marginalized gives you a perspective. And this is the inspirational part before I wrap it up. When you are on the edge of something, you can see the whole picture. It's amazing. Think about it for a second. Being in the middle, you're in it. You can't see outside of it. But if you're on the edge, if you're the wrong identity, you can see lots of different things. And the further out you go, the more you can see. So me, being a black teacher in a white system, I could see the edges, the frame, the hands that made the frame. I could see the whole picture. And this is what I think is really powerful. Everyone has that same vantage point. There's a part of you that can see things from a different angle. And it might not be your color. It might not be your sexuality. It might be experiences that you've had. You know, I've talked to teachers that have said things like, I grew up in care, and none of my peers knew that. So I can see things a bit differently because I grew up in care. Or a teacher once told me, I'm dyslexic, and I hid that for years because I was scared that I wouldn't be taken seriously as a teacher. So she could see things from an angle. So what can you notice about the world? That's what the world needs from you. It needs it because these perspectives are very, very vital. And then you can turn it into a book like me and turn it into £100,000 advance, which sounds like a lot of money, but you can't live off it, all right? We're going to stop there because, you know, it's inspirational. And it's quite a nice place to stop. I am going to say thank you because I always forget that part. And I want to say thank you also to our interpreters. So now you're going to thank yourself somehow. Do one of those. There you go. That's how you say thank you, like that. Oh, look at that. I forgot I put this on here. Who's that cutie? It's me. It's me when I was a little baby in a 1980s household. Look at the size of the TV. You could put things on the TV. They were huge back then. And that's my two sisters on the TV and a video player behind me, which is the size of a small briefcase. That's how we did Netflix back in the day. I'm showing you that picture, actually, because I've written a book called Kofi and the Rap Battle Summer, and I had to read the audiobook. And this part is actually quite amazing, because one of the things that you can't see in me that wasn't on my slides is that I have a stutter. And everyone goes, what, really? He's like, yeah, I have a stutter. I have had my whole life. And when I was that age, it was going to cause me problems just before I went to school, because I couldn't speak. But I was obsessed with words because I couldn't use words properly. So this is the last bit of inspiration. My stutter became my superpower, just like one of the characters in this book. Because I couldn't speak, it turned me into a writer, because I was always writing, and I was obsessing over words. So obviously, I'll become a really good writer. So the thing which makes you feel a bit marginalized, if you flip it just the right way, it's going to be your superpower. Trust me on this. Yeah? So everyone in the room can agree we've got a vantage point and we've got superpowers that are linked to the thing that marginalizes us. That is the true ending. All right, we're going to stop there with a round of applause. And I'll take questions if there's time, but let's have a look. All right, thank you. Cool. We had fun. Are we going to do questions now? All right, don't hold back, people. Ask me now before my stock rises.
Anyone got a question? What's your favourite book and why?
Who's that? Hello. In my head, I'm thinking, I hate that question, but I've got to be polite, because it's so hard to answer that question. My favourite book and why? I love books that shed light on things, that give me new perspectives. So it changes all the time. So one of the most recent books that I've read that gave me a new perspective is a book called Africa is Not a Country by someone called Dipo Falayan. And it's all about how Africa has been treated. And the reason I say it's my favourite book is because I thought I knew a lot. I knew nothing. So the learning keeps happening. Because I read that this year, I'm 41, and it opened my eyes to lots of things that I didn't know about the continent of Africa. So yeah, that's my recent favourite book. What about you?
Mine would be Decolonizing the Mind by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, which talks all about language and how it has been used as a tool to oppress.
Amazing. All right. I thought she was going to say like Bridget Jones's Diary, something like this, but she hit me with deep theory. There you go. Cool. Thank you for that. Cool. Good question. Let's go.
Which one of your books was the hardest one to write and why?
Okay. Good question. Blacklisted was hard to write. Blacklisted was very hard to write because essentially it was like dragging logs through the forest because I thought it would be easy. I made a list of all the words that were linked to my identity as a black person. And that's easy. You can all do that. The list will be quite long to your identity, maybe about 60 or 70 words. And I just thought, I'll just write a short essay for each one. Easy. It wasn't easy because I realized how little I knew about my own identities, you know? And that's the part which was a struggle. I had to basically go and learn stuff. I had to go and read way more than I was thinking just to understand, like, where did black come from? I've been using that term my whole life. Since I realized I was black when I was 6 years old, when I was coloring in. I went to a primary school that's Catholic. So for some reason, one of the activities was coloring in pictures of priests. We had to color in priests. I don't know. Schools are weird places, you know. And then I'm coloring in my priests. And then this girl next to me, she goes, I want the skin color pencil. And then I was like, there's only one skin color pencil. It was the white people's skin color pencil. There's only one of them. And I thought, well, I'm not skin color, but I'm brown. So I thought, take the brown pencil. And she went, I don't want the brown pencil. I want the skin color pencil. And I thought, I want the skin color pencil too. And then it just clicked. I thought, there's something going on here. I was like, wait a minute. Why am I not the skin color pencil? What's happening here? That's when I realized I was black. So I had to research that whole thing about what does it mean, where does the word come from. I had to find it out. I learned a lot writing that book. That's why it was difficult. Sorry to give you a long answer to a short question, but there you go. Cool. Have we got time for any more? I don't know. I've been very, very good. I've kept to time here, so we've got time. Yeah, listen, it's your show. All right, come on then. Give me some more questions. You again, sir.
Sorry, me again.
Get up here.
You said that you had a stammer.
Yeah.
So which part of your life made you realize you could do successful work in radio? And was it a confidence thing, or did you have to take extra training vocally to overcome that?
When I was 14, I realized that life was not going to be kind to me. You know, when you realize that life is not going to let up for you, it's so brutal. Because when you're a child, there's a lot of like helping you along. Come on, yeah, you can do it. And then you get to a certain age, and life just turns up like whatever. You're either on this or you're not. So work it out. I was 14 when that happened. Brutal. And I realized that I can't just go through life not talking to people. So I went to the big library in Croydon. There was a big library there. And I thought, they'll have books. This was pre-internet. So I couldn't Google it because Google didn't exist. So I had to go to the big library, and I was researching people with stutters, and it was all just complex stuff, and it didn't help me. And I thought, well, I'm doomed, right? But then one of these priests at my church, he said, you could talk to everyone at Easter. You could do the big speech, the big gospel. And I was like, no, I couldn't. He said, I think you can. So he believed in me. And then when we were practicing, I realized that if I spoke at the same time as him, it was more fluent. And I realized that when I was performing, I didn't worry about the stutter. And I also realized that when I was speaking from the heart, like really passionate, like that man over there that had an argument, when you're passionate, you don't care about the words. You just want to hit someone, you know. So when I speak with passion, I don't worry about the words. So I thought I can use that. So now whenever I speak with a lot of passion. I perform, obviously. And yeah, that means that I don't worry about the words too much. So I flipped it. It became my superpower. That's it. What do you think? There you go. There you go. It's the truth. It's the truth. All right, let's get another one.
I don't know. Okay. So I'm an aspiring writer.
Yes.
Oh, that's weird to hear. And I'm mixed, and I've always been invalidated. I've totally forgotten the word.
Yeah.
Invalidated, and I don't know how. I've tried to address it, and people always ignore it or don't listen to me. How do you think I would go about getting people to listen to me?
Yeah, I think the most powerful thing that you said there is this idea of not being validated. Because the thing that's not validating you is a world that is trying to put you into various boxes. So they've been mixed, you know. I've just shown you, we're all mixed. We've all got a lot going on. But the world tries to make it simple. You are that, you are that, you are white, you are British, you are straight, you are gay, you are male, you know, all these things are quite binary. But in reality, we're a much more complex mix of that. It's not your responsibility to make the world validate you. Like, forget that. Like, the world will catch up with you, you know. You're not an aspiring writer. You're a writer. You're a person. You've got a story to tell. I teach because I love hearing people's stories. I love connecting. It fascinates me. So the thing that you're doing that's very kind is you're sharing your story. And that is the only thing that you need to do. Because what will happen is people out there will want to connect with you. It's amazing. You write anything, your audience is out there. Same for all of you lot. You might not write. I'm not saying you all have to be an author. But whatever you do, someone out there is going to connect with it. The internet helps because you can find your people. But trust me, they're there. And they want to hear from you. Like, believe me. You look at me like you're just saying that to be inspirational. But trust me, there's a group of people that want to know your story. They want to know your perspective. And when you start sharing through your music, your art, your job, your family, your friends, your sport, whatever it is, they will find you and you will validate yourself through that. Does that make any sense? It was a lot of words. I just kind of went, blah, but yeah. Okay, cool. Hopefully that helps a little bit. All right. Have we got time for one more? One more.
Hi. Oh, that's weird. I was just wondering, you said that, like, grime artists, like Little Sims,
Yeah.
they change your perspective of the way you see the world.
Yeah.
And I think because music and writing has such a big crossover, how do you think it's best to convey your ideas, like, through music?
Are you a musician?
Yeah, I'm in a band.
All right, cool. It's very simple. Music is all about vibes and also kind of like telling a bit of the truth. That's why I like the music that I like hip-hop, grime, like all these genres, that they want to get you amped and give you a bit of energy, but they also tell you things how they are. And sometimes that stuff isn't nice. So I feel as though it's just a case of balancing that fine line. Like, are you telling the truth with your art? These artists here, they talk about their experiences. And that's what I like. They tell stories. At the same time, they're entertaining and they're kind of creating culture. So I think that quite simply, that's one of the things that can maybe be quite motivational. Telling the truth and seeking joy. If you do that, you're probably going to be on a good path. That's it. Yeah? Yeah. Cool. What kind of music do you make? He's not
we're
gonna tell
doing
me.
good.
He's not gonna
We're
tell me.
actually doing like covers at the minute, but
Covers?
we really want to. Oh, it's so boring. We really want to release an EP by the end because someone in our school's just released an EP and we all thought it was quite naff. So we want to try and beat that.
Wow. So just motivated by pure hatred, yeah?
No, not like that. That makes me seem like a bad person.
Just kidding. Oh, do it. You know.
Oh, other
release your
thing.
EP.
You mentioned Little Sims. I saw her live last year and I was just wondering, what about her as a performer do you find most captivating? Because I love her.
She
I
tells
think
her
she's
truth.
amazing.
Very simple. She tells her truth. As a young black woman in a male-dominated industry and world, someone that is creative, has had to fight certain things, and she always speaks to that. Her introversion, she speaks to all of her truths. She's very vulnerable. That's the best thing about any artist. And actually, most artists are vulnerable in some way. So that's what I love. Right, we're done.